Today I am excited to present to you a phenomenal, beautiful young lady who happens to be my dear mother-in-law, Dr. Odeather A. Bennett. And we will be discussing today an upcoming book release entitled The Audacity to Dream Big and Reach Higher, subtitle From a High School Dropout to a PhD and from Harvesting Cotton to Owning a Private Practice. So this is going to be very exciting, and she is also the founder and president of Deaf Matters Incorporated.
Yes, I am glad to be here. It is a privilege to sit and talk with people who are, I'm sure, one and maybe already have big dreams and they want to reach higher. And it's the title of my book. And let me just share with you some of my experiences getting to that point. It has been a long journey. A lot of trauma in my life, childhood trauma. Then growing up in high school and being in Arkansas, we lived on a plantation. And we had to harvest cotton for a living. And starting at 7 years old, I started chopping cotton. And sometimes the heat was so hot, it was sometimes got up to 107 degrees. And you can imagine how hot that was. We had to wear long sleeves to keep the sun from burning us. We have to make sure we had a straw hat on our head so the sun wouldn't beam down on our skull. And we have to be careful in working in the field because sometimes there were snakes. And we have to fight off the bees, the mosquitoes. But we had to harvest cotton. Now let me give you an example of what cotton looks like. This is it has a stem, but the stem is broke off. So this is called a cotton ball. At first it's green because it's growing, but then it grows and then it gets cotton that feels soft, and you sometimes you just imagine when you use cotton balls to clean your skin, or you use it to wipe something away, to remove makeup. Just remember, I used to pick the cotton that helped you to do that, to help you to buy it. So what we have to do, we have to grab the cotton. And I want you to see, this is a hard bulb. And so we have to stick our hands in it, each hand in the cotton ball. And then we have to pull it out. And we have to be very careful because if not, the sharp points of the cotton ball would prick your skin. And sometimes my cuticles would bleed from the cotton balls pricking me. But I couldn't stop. I had to continue. We had to make sure that we work 10 hours a day. And for little or nothing, just picking cotton, we earned $3. I thought it was $2 or something, but my brother said it was $3 a day. And sometimes I picked up to, as I grew older, picked up to 300 pounds of cotton a day. And that was hard work. Now there's a you see a picture later, cotton sacks, 6-foot cotton sack, 9-foot cotton sack. But when I started picking cotton at the age of 7, we had what we call a croaker sack. It was a little small sack. And I would fill it up with cotton and then I would empty it into either my grandmother cotton sack, or my sister, or my brother when he was working with us. So just imagine working in a cotton field for 10 hours a day. We had lunch, but lunch was not part of that 10 hours a day. But my grandmother said, always have a dream. Always have a goal. You have to have a plan. You have to have passion. And you have to be determined. No matter what you have to go through, you have to be determined to reach your goal, to realize your dream.
How were you introduced to picking cotton? Did someone come to your family, and I mean, how did that start, and what span of years,
Okay.
did you do this?
Yeah, I harvest cotton from 7 years old to 17.
So for 10 years, 10 hours a day.
Yes, yes. Now, we did have an opportunity. Well, there's different seasons with harvesting cotton. There's a cotton chopping season where you chop cotton, and then the cotton grows until it gets to be a cotton ball, and then you pick cotton. And then, so the picking cotton, and then in the later summer of the year, the later time of the year, which would be like in November, December, we had to what they call pull cotton, and that cotton was the last set of work opportunities that we had. And that was in the fall, or sometimes in that season it was so cold until your fingers feel like they were going to freeze. Now, the question of how did I get started harvesting cotton? Well, I grew up with my grandmother because my mom passed away when I was almost 6. So I grew up with my grandmother, who lived on the plantation, and that was part of what we had to do. That was our way of earning a living, is making sure that the plantation owner crops was harvested on time. So during school's year, during the season for school, we were able to go to school, but sometimes we couldn't if the plantation owner said, no, you cannot go to school. My grandmother had to obey him and would keep us out of school because we had to make sure that during those seasons that the cotton was harvested on time. It was hard. I grew up in the Jim Crow era, and a lot of racial discrimination. We talking about real overt racial discrimination. But again, I have to mention my grandma. She said, no matter what you're called, because we were called the N-word, my mom, my grandmother rather, had to say, yes, sir. And no, we all of anybody that had skin color like mine, we had to say, yes, sir. No, actually, yasam and nosam to people that were not our skin color. And, but again, I can't stop mentioning my grandmother because she was the one who laid the foundation that we should continue to feel good about ourselves, to have self-esteem.
After being in bondage for 10 plus years, after dealing with the discrimination, all of the things that would strip you of self-esteem, how do you recover? How did you recover after 10 years of this treatment, What was it like after 17 years of age to no longer be under this bondage, to have your independence, and to move forward in life?
Well, I tell you, I used to pray that I would one day not have to harvest cotton. I mean, I prayed and I prayed. And when I was 17 years old, actually when I was 15, I met this young man who we started dating without my grandmother's permission and knowledge, although I later told her. So he went to the service, and he asked me to come to another state to marry him. And that was my journey, a new journey. For the first time in my life, I was able to sit in a tub, in a porcelain tub, turn the faucet, and the faucet run water, and I took a bath. When I was a child growing up, we had this big tub that we took bath in. And the first one took the bath, because actually now I understand that we didn't have electricity for a long time. We didn't have running water. We had a well. We didn't have a toilet, so to speak now. We had what we call an outhouse. So we had to do our business in the outhouse. We had to go outside. But when I got married, it was actually a shock to be able to just get in the tub after running the water, take a bath, and just pull the faucet up, and the water run out without having to go and empty the water out so the next person can take a bath. It was a culture shock. But it was a new journey. And even in my new journey, it was difficult to adjust my mind and wrap my mind around this new experience. I don't have to go and chop cotton or pick cotton anymore. Oh, it was awesome. But because, again, my grandmother instilled in us that an education is the key. She believed the education is the key to me getting, and my siblings as well, getting what we wanted in life. And so that is what I had to hold on to. Is no matter the experiences that I have to maintain my self-esteem. No matter the experiences that we have, I have to make sure that I continue with my dream. And my dream was to one day earn the highest degree possible. Because that's what grandmother said. You have to. She earned a third grade education. And she said that in those days, they had to sneak in reading and write. I still have a letter that she wrote to me in 1965. You know how old that letter is today. Wow. That I can hold in my hand and remember the words that my grandmother said to me.
It is amazing to me that she had only a third grade education, yet she had so much wisdom.
Yes.
And she imparted that wisdom.
Yes, she did.
And that wisdom is a legacy. Mm-hmm. That wisdom you passed on.
Yes.
Now, you took that wisdom and you made it work for you.
Yes. Yes.
So
yes.
Tell us more. I read that you also wanted 6 children after you married and you went to Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe you gave birth to 4 wonderful children.
Yes, I gave birth to my son, Andre, That was my first child. I was 18 years old. Actually, I got married at 17. And 18, by the time I turned 18, I was pregnant with my first child, Andre. And then then 2 years later, my daughter Angela was born. And let me just say, my children are awesome. Every one of them. I'm thankful that they've never been in trouble and been arrested and any crime, no drugs. And I'm just thankful for that. So then after Angela, then came my son Zedric. And he's awesome too. Let me just go back to one thing. My dad, I didn't grow up with my dad. And he was an artist, and that passed down to us. So Andre is an artist, and he's not only with painting or drawing, but he does video. Actually, he's the one that's doing the video now. And I have to also mention that there's episodes that he has. It's called The Rapture Chronicle. And he does awesome work with that. Now, Angela she works in the medical field. And she's also starting her own business. And with that, he loves cooking. Now, my fourth child is Elaine, and she's awesome as well. So yes, I used to want 6 kids, but I have 4. Boy, girl. So after that, what else can I have?
Perfect.
A boy or a girl. so that's what it is. I have 4 awesome children.
Okay, well, let's talk about your education.
Well, as I said earlier, I dropped out of high school when I was 17. When I was 17 years old to get married. And in 1971, I earned my GED. And I continued with my associate degree after then. And then my bachelor's degree and my master's degree, and then my doctorate degree. And when my doctorate degree, I wanted to start in a adult foster care home, but my professor, she encouraged me to have this pioneer program for young adults, young male adults in particular, to look at the institutional factors that impede their efforts to transition into a healthy, independent young man. So what I did was a case study. I didn't know how to do a case study, but I learned how to do a case study. And my book, my dissertation was published, and this is my dissertation. And it's called African American Young Men Transition Towards Independent Living, a case study. And so that was a big thing when I published this book. It was like, wow, I can do this? A little black girl from Arkansas who made poor grades in school, and I could publish a book. This is my first book.
What year did you release?
In 1995.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. It's amazing, as you've stated, to come from such humble beginnings and to have a dream,
Yes.
to push forward towards those goals and to achieve those goals with the help of Christ,
Yes.
and to have such a great impact on those young men in the case study,
Yes.
as well as the others that you counseled
Mm-hmm.
in your profession.
Yes. Yes. And 19 after I earned my master's degree, I said I want to start my own business, and I did. I stopped. I actually quit my jobs that I had. I had a full-time and then part-time. I quit those jobs. And I took the risk or reaching higher than I was when I was working for someone else. I wanted to start my business. So in 1983, that's when I started. And my son Andre helped me to move some furniture from the house into the office. I had a 2-room office. And I had one client. I kept my business for about three years. I had one client. And then I started some workshops on how to start and operate a small business. Now the reason I had one client is actually I didn't, starting the business, I didn't really know what I was doing. But this is what I wanted to do. That was my dream. And after 3 years, I failed. I had to close my business. But remember, a failure is only a stepping stone to you getting what you want. So just remember that. So after I closed my business, Andre helped me move the furniture from the office back to the house. But in my mind, I kept saying, I want to have a business one of these days and be successful in doing so. And I'm thankful that because of my dream that I had, I was able to start a second business, and that was in 1997. I started a business called Professional Preventive Restoration and Consulting Services, and I hired contractual therapists to assist me. And we service young people, we service a lot of children. And those children were in broken homes. They were neglected and abused. And they were removed from their parents. And so we service the children, and we also service their parents to help them comply with the court for family reunification.
When those 3 years that you worked in that field, you were a blessing to those lives that you touched. But as you later discovered, even after your practice closed, God still had an assignment for you.
Well, exactly. You're right, because during that time of the 3 years, I did learn a lot. I learned a lot about myself, and also learned that I still had the motivation to continue. One thing is when I use the word failure, some people, and I did too at the time, was thinking that I failed at this. But we have to understand that sometimes it can be a temporary halt on what you want to do. But if you still want to do that, you make sure you look at yourself and say, because this is what I did. What happened? What caused me to have a temporary stop on my business? I had to do a self-examination to see what it was that I needed to do, I needed to improve upon. And in doing that, I was able, blessed, and led by the Holy Spirit to continue wanting my business. And again in 1997, I did that. And I thank God for that. in doing the way of my life, I used to ask God, you know, why? Why did I stop? Why did I have a temporary stop on my business? And in other experiences, the same thing, I would say, why, God, why? But I learned to say, what are you preparing me for? And in life, with that temporary stop on my business and with the experience of 3 years, God was preparing me for something greater.
Yes.
And that's when, the business that I started in 1997 was a success. And during that time, I created some tools to help young people, help children address issues of being neglected and abused. So,
And there's definitely a need for mentors, for counselors, for nurturers to be there for those children. So it was a blessing that you were redirected.
yes.
And it's a sensitive topic, but I see that it is on the agenda. One of the reasons that you retired from your private practice was due to your loss of hearing.
Yes.
Are you comfortable sharing with us your experiences during this period?
Yes. To me, having the private practice, I wanted to be so successful this time, and that I worked hard. I wore too many hats. I didn't believe that anybody else could run my business, even part of it. I should have hired an assistant, although I had support staff. But the stress of running a business and wearing too many hats and just helped deteriorate my health. And I lost my hearing, first in my right ear, but I could still hear in my left ear. And so it was like, well, I can hear, I don't want to hear. So I'm just going to continue. Actually, my family didn't know that I was hard of hearing for quite a while. But what I did while I was recuperating, I created some tools, because I know I was going to continue with my business. So I created some tools that help children tell their story about neglect and abuse. And so this was a therapist, and this was a little child. And so the therapist would say, "Hi, Mary, I understand that you are having some problems. You're not staying with your mom anymore, or your dad. So what's happening?" And the little girl would say, "Well, how do you know my name? And yeah, I'm no longer living with my mom, and it makes me feel very sad." And so the therapist will continue to talk. So these were tools that I created while I was recuperating with dealing with my hearing loss. And not only that, I created a program called Deaf Matters. And Deaf Matters is an organization that help advocate for people who are deaf, hard of hearing, and to educate the hearing community about the issues of deaf, hard of hearing. I formed friendships. So now I have two communities. I have the hearing community, and I also have my deaf community. And I learn a lot from them. We have 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 19. We had conferences. In the conference, we had social workers, we had people from the community, political officials involved in learning about the issues of deaf, hard of hearing. and deafblind individuals. We stopped because of COVID, and in between that time, I've done a lot of things. Actually, I was still working on my book, The Audacity to Reach Higher, to Dream Big and Reach Higher. So I was working on that. And in the meantime, there are a lot of experiences happen in my life.
And once again, what appeared to be a setback gave you another opportunity to explore your creativity and to continue to be a blessing to yet another community.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yes.
a lot of stereotypes around the deaf community.
Yes.
And so it is a tremendous blessing for an advocate to come along, to care enough to say, we're going to do some training
Mm-hmm.
surrounding this, and to educate people so that they understand the challenges and to be a better support and not to alienate those who have this disability. So
Yes.
once again,
Mm-hmm.
every time, from what I'm hearing, every time that you're stopped or there's a pause, but not a period. You move on into another area of ministry.
Yes.
So it is definitely a blessing.
Yes.
And you have been a tremendous blessing to many throughout the community.
Yes. But let me just share. At first, I didn't see it as a blessing. At first, it was like, God, why is this happening to me? Because I'm a therapist. I need to hear what people have to say. Why? And again, I have to stop asking why and ask, what are you preparing me for? So doing my transition, doing my healing of the disappointment and the hurt of losing my hearing, I had to say, God is preparing me for something greater. And actually, I am so thankful that I now have many deaf, hard of hearing friends that I can communicate with. The functions that I have, I invite them to come. And I have to get an interpreter to do that. Now, we talked about a number of things, and particularly my book. Now, there's a book signing that's coming up.
Yes, I have here information, and we see now, after listening to your very inspirational story, we see that was the inspiration for the title of your book, The Audacity to Dream Big and Reach Higher. On Saturday, September 20th, 2025, Dr. Odeather Bennett will be having a book signing and releasing her book. This signing will be held at the Magnolia Banquet Hall from 1 o'clock until 4 o'clock p.m. The address is 29221 Northwestern Highway in Southfield, Michigan, 48034. Again, we are excited that Dr. Odeather Bennett will be releasing the long-awaited Dream Big and Reach Higher. And this is surely going to be an inspiration and a blessing and a legacy and something that she can be proud of.
I am. I'm thankful. It was a long journey, but I am thankful. And in my journey, I'm not only excited about my book, but I retired in 2019. That was exciting to me at the time because it gave me an opportunity. Oh, well, at first I didn't want to retire though. I was saying, although I was in my 70s, I want to continue. But because of my hearing, I decided was going to be too much stress for me. So I was at home with my little dog. He's deceased now. His name is Willie. I named Willie after my mom because my mom passed. Again, my mom passed when I was almost 6. So Willie, his name is Willie Lee. Her name is Willie Lee. So I had a chance to call her name every day, throughout the day. Willie, what are you doing? Willie, stop. Let's go walking. And sometimes he was standing at the door like he says, Mom, I'm ready to go for a walk. So we walked. So then I decided, okay, well, let me just continue with my different crafts and arts and things that I do. And then, but the urge and the desire to get married was in my heart. And one day, my family was over, Andre and my daughter-in-law was over. And I was talking about how I wanted to get married. And I prayed and I prayed. And then a friend of mine and a friend of the man that I married almost 3 years ago, 2022, introduced us. She didn't know that we didn't know. We didn't know that she didn't that she knew us, but we didn't know each other. And it happened. We are now in I'm 80 and he is 83. So we got married. So I can say it's never too late to fall in love and get married. Now, at the age of 80, in 83, as we grow older, we get set in our ways, And then sometimes it can be a little challenging. You can have roller coasters up and down. But that's part of a relationship, as long as you can work it out, talking. And sometimes you have to share with other people. Well, he said this and he said that. But remember, you have to go back to that person and say, let's work this out. And we have to work it out. Now, I would like to introduce my husband. He's going to talk a little about my book.
And for the conclusion of this interview, we have joining us Minister Horatio Bennett, my bonus dad, who is married to this beautiful, lovely, youthful wife, Dr. Odeather Bennett.
Yes, I'm glad you're here with me, because I wanted to show people that, you got the gray hair there.
Yeah.
And well.
Wait, hold on. Listen.
And then we are 2 senior citizens that's been married a little over 3 years.
Well, let me say something here. I am experiencing the joy of being associated with someone like you, and I really mean that literally, and I mean that wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. But everyone has had experiences, every one of us. What we did with those experiences is another story. Some of us are disoriented. Some of us have used their experiences as a tool to get back at others. Others have used their experiences to elevate themselves, just like you have. Mm-hmm. When I heard you were introduced as being phenomenal, and indeed you are, okay? Because knowing me, I would not associate myself with anyone less than being phenomenal. And you really jump right in there, and I'm really blessed for that. But let me say something. The difference between other experiences and yours is that you use your experience to help others, and this is something that brings out the uniqueness in your story. Your story is has been told to help others, and I think that people will walk away from all this with a copy of your book, I'm sure, and they will find that there are not nuggets, but they are real life stories that will help them to chart their lives. And I'm really blessed to be with someone as phenomenal as you are. and I know that when someone takes up your book and read it, like I said before, they are going to eventually be evolved into a much better person. Thank you very much for sharing your experience. I am blessed by your experience. As a matter of fact, I have written a book based on your experience.
Yes.
I'm not going to based on your experience, but that's another story. But thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I love you very much. God has brought us together,
Yes.
and He knows what He's doing. He didn't ask us, He just did His thing, and we fell right into it.
Yeah.
Awesome,
Yes.
awesome.
Yes, thank
you too.
I'm glad to be in your life, and I'm glad you're in my life.
You two definitely complement one another. Definitely, and those were great words of expression. And you said it best. And as a minister, that is our duty.
Yes.
Not just to do things to elevate ourselves, but to be a blessing. We are
To
blessed
others.
to be a blessing.
Yes.
So she is definitely fulfilling that call. And we thank you for being in her corner, for supporting her, for loving her. And continued blessings to the both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.